Welcome, everybody. It is Friday Night Comics. At least it's Friday night for most of us, some of us. Where you are, it might be Friday afternoon, it might be Saturday morning, it might be incredibly late Friday night, so that you get the picture. Anyway, here it's Friday night. Welcome. This is the We Believe in Comics Friday Night Workshops at the Sequential Artists Workshop. SAW is a nonprofit. You can find our courses at learn.sawcomics.org. You can find out like Diary Comics with Joy, which just started today, and that's an ongoing group that's new. And if you're into diary comics, you can go check it out at sawcomics.org or learn.sawcomics.org. We've been changing the website too, so things are a mess. Next week we have Cynta Camilia there, and I'm not sure what she's going to be doing, but I'm excited that she's coming along. You can also sign up for Beth Tremblay's 12-week memoir intensive called Well on Your Way. This is the third time our master teacher Beth has run that. It's really great. Okay, there's Joy. SAW survives from tuitions and donations. Thank you for donating. If you donated today, that helps a lot. It helps keep these free. It helps us pay the instructors. And any way you support what we do really helps a lot. It helps keep us going. Sustaining members are a big plus. We appreciate that. Okay, we'll get started. So we say no trolling or hate speech. It's been a long time since we've seen any of that, but just in case, please keep it PG-13 when you're sharing. And share tonight also on social media, hashtag Friday Night Comics, at Comics Workshop. You can tag us, you can tag Josh, and I'll put it in the chat at jrosenillustration. And we're at members.sawcomics.org if you want to share there. And also we will put a link in the chat where you can sign up, where you can upload art for our PDFs that we put on Seesaw Comics. And like that's one we did in April, just an example. It's just a little PDF of some of this stuff. It's super fun. So enjoy. Oh yeah, here we are, Time Travel Comics. Yeah, Transcend Time Itself. All right, Josh, I'm there. I'm ready. That sounds super cool. Let me stop sharing. Cool. So welcome, Josh. It's really nice to meet you and to have you here. And like I said, I'll shut up. And I'll be here for you to if you need help. I'm gonna spotlight you, so you're gonna get big all of a sudden.
Okay.
There we go.
Ooh.
And yeah, and you can shout out if you need any help, but mostly I'll be monitoring the chat. I'll be summarizing what you do, and we're good to go.
Okay, amazing. Hello everyone. Let me quickly make sure now that everyone's here that my screen sharing works correctly. I think it should. Yeah, we're gonna share Google Chrome over here, and I'm gonna move this into slideshow view. Boop. Can everyone see that?
Yeah, looks great.
Perfect. And I'm assuming my face is like in the corner. Is that what we're seeing? Or
For
can you see me not at all?
Yeah, no, for me it's up high, and luckily that Zoom hand has stayed raised somehow.
Oh, perfect.
Stayed
Okay,
right.
well, hopefully it'll stay up there. Awesome. Okay, so I'll launch into stuff. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be able to share with you all today. I'm gonna this is not my first Zoom rodeo. So I am going to try to be pretty good at keeping an eye on the chat throughout this. I'm gonna try to have us, even though folks are going to be muted while I'm talking, still have a little bit of back and forth through interactions with the chat. I think I'm pretty good at keeping an eye on the chat in general, but I'll be relying on you, Tom, a little bit to catch it if I miss anything. But I just wanted to warn you in advance. There might be times throughout this presentation where I'm going to ask folks to type things in the chat that I'm gonna ask you questions and hopefully we'll have some chat responses. And so I just want to warn you to start out to get your typing fingers ready, in addition to our drawing hands for today. Yeah, and I guess I'll just jump into it. We only have so much time, and I'm ambitious today. I want to make maximum use of it.
We can go back in time though, right?
Yeah. You know, if it turns out we don't have enough, we'll just go back a little bit, and then it should work out. By the end of this workshop, we'll all be able to go back in time whenever we feel like. Um, So yes, I should start with yes, introducing myself. Hello, my name is Josh Rosen. I'm a cartoonist from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. This is a picture of me, so you know that I am a professional cartoonist because you can see a drawing of me uh, at a desk, hard at work, throwing comics pages in the air. This is me in my natural state. I've done a lot of self-published work, small press work, zines, mini comics, etc. I've also done a couple books with larger publishers. I've done The Good Fight with Scholastic Canada, which is a historical fiction adventure set in Toronto in 1933 at the height of the Great Depression, about the period that was sort of the lead up to the Second World War and what that was like socially. It's kind of an interesting period of time and one that we don't spotlight that often. So it's hopefully a pretty informative and engaging read. And I've also done with First Second History Comics World War II Fight on the Home Front, which is a portrait of what life was like for the people who were back at home. So kids, non-combatants, people who were supporting the war effort in various ways, and spotlighting kind of what it was like to live through such a sweeping global event, how we dealt with something like that in the past, and what in what ways big events like that had ripples and changed society going forward. Both of these books are obviously graphic novels that deal with history. And so when thinking about what I could share with you all today, I've gone through the archives a little bit, and you've had some really great presenters come in before who've shared a lot of really cool stuff with you in some of these past Friday night workshops. So I thought, in terms of what I could offer, that would be something that haven't seen someone else do before and that could hopefully be of value for you, was to talk about specifically my work, doing illustration and doing comics work for historical graphic novels like these. So that's going to be the main focus today. Most specifically, I'm going to try to give you the practical skill set of how to achieve time travel through drawing. Yes, by the end of today, we'll all be able to travel through time just with the use of a pen or a pencil or whatever drawing implement we want to use. Um, more specifically, what we're going to be doing today, I'm going to have you go through this slide presentation where I will share my approach to time travel, and some tips and tricks that I use when trying to use drawings that will transport a reader through time. I'm going to do a little bit of a drawing demo, and that is potentially a draw along demo. So feel free to both take part in that aspect, but also to draw along with me. Then we'll have our main activity today, which is going to be a time travel comics activity, and we'll end it all with a share, as is kind of typical, I think, for these Friday night drawing hangouts. And hopefully it'll be pretty fun. We'll see, we'll find out. Um, Before I launch into all of this, I should address the question of why time travel through drawing. Obviously, why time travel? This, it's that it should be a given why we'd want to time travel, I think. There's huge value in reflecting on and going back to the past, examining history. Our past tells us a lot about our present, why it currently is, how we got to where we are, and tells us a lot about our future and where we could go. This is why we like to reflect on our past as much as we do, and going through different eras of history can be hugely informative to what we are experiencing today. More specifically, though, you might be asking yourself, why try time travel through drawings? Why not use more conventional means of time travel? Things like time machines, right? It's I am a consumer of popular fiction and media. I see stories about time machines all the time, be them designs like this one, be they my understanding is police boxes are a pretty popular time travel machine that you encounter pretty often. Modified vintage cars can be a pretty good time travel vehicle. all of this seems like this would be perhaps a more effective means of traveling and examining our past. However, these methods of time travel do come with some potential downsides. Use of a machine to travel through time introduces the potential for mechanical failure. And if you get a mechanical failure while traveling through time, you could very easily become stuck in a time period that you were hoping to visit only briefly. Now you're there possibly forever. This is obviously an issue with this method. Also, if you have mechanical issues mid-time travel, you are opening yourself up to the potential for death, which is not, not really what we're aiming for in terms of our time travel. We want to visit a time period, come back, and be perfectly fine. So obviously, maybe using time machines is not the ideal way to do it. There are other methods that you sometimes encounter for time travel. I'm a little bit of a fan of the sleepy method. Kind of the Rip Van Winkle way of visiting different periods of time. The fall asleep for a really long time, wake up, and now you're in a different era. A popular variant on this is the cryogenic freezing. Maybe you're not sleepy enough to fall asleep and wake up hundreds of years later, so you freeze yourself in order to do it. This seems like this might be a more practical way of traveling through time. However, this also comes with some potential downsides. Most notably, you can only use this to go forward in time. This will help you visit the future, but we, for the purposes of our exercises today, want to be able to go back and examine the past. So this is not really the method that makes the most sense for us. Also, you are opening yourself to the possibility of sleeping too long and waking up in a post-apocalyptic future. This is not the most accurate means of time travel. And you could very easily overshoot. So this is another issue with this potential method of traveling through time. Even if you think you have a totally safe, totally accurate method of time travel, if you've discovered a portal through time, or you are using some sort of magical amulet that you know is going to work, you don't have to deal with mechanical issues, you don't have to worry about missing the time period. Even then, anytime you're bodily moving yourself into a different era in time, you're introducing some potential downsides. You could the trigger the butterfly effect. You can alter some small thing in the past that causes a divergent timeline, and when you return to the present at the end of your adventure, it is not the present that you were hoping for. Even if you avoid causing any of this trouble, just thinking about the things you might be altering by being the past can really do your head in. So I think that the psychological harm you might be doing yourself by traveling the past could be a real issue. That is why I think the safest method of time travel in general is to time travel via a good book. Through the power of reading, you can travel into the past in a historical book, historical fiction. You can do that safely at home. You don't have to risk causing bodily harm, not going to the right time period, or causing parallel timelines. You also just get the joy of, getting to engage in the magic of reading. So I think this is the best way to time travel in general. However, even if we are all in agreement that time traveling through books is the best way to time travel, this doesn't really fully address my question of why time travel through drawings specifically. Not every book has drawings. What advantages do we think that time traveling through drawings has? Um, it's a perfectly fair way to travel through time with prose, and this is a part where it's a little subjective. I agree, but hopefully you will at least some of you will be in agreement about this. I think that it can be really compelling to read about different periods of time and to feel yourself transported in that way, but it just doesn't feel quite as powerful when you're reading a paragraph like this as when you see an image like this.
Wow.
We could, yeah, right. One was very much painting a picture with those words, but this thing just hits us right away like a ton of bricks. When you see an image like this with the people rowing, the raising the spears, we feel like we're right there with them when an image like this is done well. If I was going to get into the specific advantage of time traveling using drawings over time traveling using prose, I would point to the fact that drawings are more immersive, as that sort of previous image kind of was showing. It gives you a sense not just of what was happening, but what it felt like, with a lot of the incidental details that it'll be sharing through an image. Drawings share more information, and they share that information quickly. Everyone knows that expression, a picture is worth 1,000 words. It's because of the sheer amount of information that a single image can contain in it. Details like clothing, details like architecture, details like what did the sky look like. These are things that you might not think to mention when describing something in words, but which an image can share and that you read right away when you are looking at an image. Finally, a significant advantage is that drawings are more accessible to early readers, reluctant readers, and folks with language barriers. No matter what your confidence is as a reader or with any given language, we all kind of know how to read images to some degree or another. When you are trying to reach a very broad audience, this can be a real advantage to you as a comic creator. The historical graphic novels I have done are oriented towards kids, and this is partially because I know that the publishers I've worked with had said that it's a real asset having a graphic novel as a way to share and teach young readers about history, and young readers are a lot quicker to pick up a graphic novel about history than they might be to pick up a historical book. So these are some real assets we have to using drawings as a way to tell stories about the past. Um, Time traveling through drawing is not without its challenges, though, especially for us creators. And I do know, in terms of folks on this call, I myself am a creator. I think everyone here, probably everyone who's going to watch this YouTube video in the future, are going to be, creators, creatives, aspiring creators of one kind or another. And it is fair that trying to have uh, drawings that are going to be able to communicate all this detail about the past can be kind of intimidating. Um, it's not been unheard of for certain people who, will remain unmentioned, but some people in the past have said, when engaging in a project like this, "Oh, but that sounds so hard. How do I show a whole time period in a single drawing? What if I get something wrong?" Which are all very fair concerns, and things that one should keep in mind when engaging in a project like this. However, my hope today, and sort of through the activities that we're going to be doing, is that I can show you that it's not quite as hard as it might seem at first blush. Even if it can sort of feel intimidating, it isn't as tricky as you might think, and there are methods you can follow that are pretty straightforward that can get you there if you're willing to take the leap. Um, for myself specifically, I like to break down my approach to historical drawing and historical comics into three relatively simple steps. Step one is research. Perhaps, obviously, I don't know, but even if it's a time period that you're looking at that you feel like you have some degree of familiarity with, it still doesn't hurt to do a little bit of research before starting up a project like this. And the luckily we are living in an age where we have a real wealth of potential research resources at our disposal. Here's just a quick image of some of the resources I used when I was working on The Good Fight. I was looking at magazines, I was looking at books, I was looking at collections of photographs. I actually went to the City of Toronto archives and did a lot of sketching based off some of the photos that were available there and looking through microfiche and things like that. That's what some of the sketchbook you're seeing over there is from. Obviously, photographs are a great resource. They're going to give you a direct image of what things look like, and you can study these photographs to find details like, okay, for the time period I'm looking at, what are people wearing? How did people hold themselves? What would a street look like? What would vehicles look like? What are the level of technology I'm looking at? And you can kind of pick up a lot of these smaller details that are existing. But even beyond photographs, you might be looking at a period that doesn't necessarily have photographs, or to which, for example, for these 1930s photos that I'm showing, they're in black and white. So what if we want to do a color comic about it, right? There are other resources out there. I think honestly, illustrations can be a really good resource. These are illustrations that I picked out from various fashion catalogs from the 1930s. So example, I didn't have any color reference until I started looking at these fashion catalogs and saying, okay, here is an image of what the clothing actually looked like color-wise. Here's some additional details and stuff that you might not think to have someone focus on in a photograph are being spotlighted in research resources like this. You can also look at stuff like for my work on history comics World War II, I was looking at a lot of propaganda illustrations, stuff that told you a lot about what sort of the culture of the period was like, obviously with this, encouraging folks to engage in the war effort, but also it's giving us like some really simple, straightforward iconography of, okay, what would a typical, child from the period look like? What would a typical factory worker from the period look like? It's giving us some really fantastic resources that we can study about, some of the most iconic and widely accepted imagery from these time periods. Once we get through the research stage, we can start combing through all that information that we'd be gathering and identify iconic features. So what are the main images that we're seeing in this time period? And this is the bit where I really do want to start making use of the chat here. So I pulled up a bunch of images that are images from the 1940s, a period that I obviously looked at quite a bit during History Comics World War II. If I was going to say, okay, what are some of the key features that we're seeing in these images? What are things that are jumping out? And please, for the folks in chat, type into chat. For anyone watching on YouTube later, I'm gonna read out what everyone is saying. Um, so I'm curious, what are features that are jumping out at you at some of these? What is something that you're seeing here that if you saw it today would seem like a little out of place, or you would see it and say that's odd, or that's vintage maybe. That seems like a thing that you don't normally see. Yeah, okay. So I'm seeing in the okay, I'm getting a lot of great responses in chat. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I'm seeing bulbous cars, huge cars. I'm seeing, yeah, baggy pants, the hairstyles, the clothing, yep, the advertisements. Yeah, a lot of people pointing out the cars. Yes, yes, fancy. I'm seeing someone mentioned fancy dress. I'll do workshops with these with the kids, and that is always the go-to the kids will say, because this is the style of this era is something that looking at today would seem way more formal, even though that was kind of the casual dress style of that period. Yeah, we're seeing lack of electricity.
Hmm.
Uh, the puffy sleeves. Yeah, okay, great, great. You all are already experts at this. This is giving me confidence that our main activities today are going to be going pretty well. I will so I made a quick list myself, and this is kind of how I work, honestly, is that I will look at some of this historical reference, and I actually will sometimes make a list of the things that are jumping out at me just to get my thoughts in order. So similar to what a lot of people are seeing, I listed clean cuts, and I'm thinking clean cut like clothing, like the clothing style is a little bit more formal, it is a little bit more clean. Slicked hair, high-waisted pants. The pant line is like a little higher than, certainly than what we typically see today. Shirts and suspenders. We don't see people wearing suspenders very much now. Plaid and polka dots. As well as, in addition to the fashion, I was looking at sort of architectural details. So I'm seeing a bit of an Art Deco influence in some of the architecture. That would have been an influence from a previous era, but that we are still seeing around, obviously, because the buildings that were built in the previous era are still kind of present. I'm seeing stores with awnings. I feel like I don't see awnings on stores all that often today. I mean, still some, but not as much as I saw in those images. Stuff like newspaper boys, the bulky cars, as everyone was quick to point out, vintage radios. And I'm just making note of like, okay, here are some features that um, if we saw it today would jump out at us as like this seems like it's from another era. So finally, step three, once we've kind of made our list of these iconic features, the goal is to bring these features into your drawings in an incidental way. I say incidental specifically because you can sort of make them your main focus for sure, but it's the stuff in the background. It's the stuff that is just casually around that really creates the feel of a period. The stuff that people aren't drawing their attention to, but is there and that you can identify as, oh, that is something that we wouldn't see today. That's the stuff that really gives that sense of immersion that you can potentially have in a drawing. So uh, you can see here's just some examples from my work in history comics, World War II, where I'm pulling from those 1940s images that we're looking at. I've got stuff like, that car that we everyone jumped on, that certain style. Like obviously that jumps out to us. The sort of formal dress, the very gendered clothing also from the period we're seeing present in all of this. But it's also little incidental stuff like having this gas station attendant, even just having gas station attendant in some places, that's something you don't see as much today. But him in this very formal uniform, that is something that is very much of its time and immediately communicates to us that, like, okay, I'm looking at something in a little bit of a different time. And hopefully it all, it's cumulative. It all adds up to give you the feel of being in a different time period as you're looking at these comics, as you're looking at these images here. Um, so just to go through those again, just as a quick refresh, my three simple steps: you got to start with research. You gotta make sure that you are confidently presenting this period. You got try to identify the iconic features that you're seeing in all that research material, and then you try to bring those features into your drawings in an incidental way. Um, a couple quick tips and tricks that I would point out about all of this. Yeah, I'd say remember, you don't have to get everything right. Comics, a drawing is not a photograph, right? We're creating an approximation. You might not get absolutely every single detail right. We try to get as accurate as we can, but I think you'll find that an audience is a little more forgiving than you might imagine with some of this stuff if you accidentally show a little bit of an item of clothing that might not be quite right. If the coffee cup that you have someone holding is something that might not have been quite from the period, it doesn't ruin all of your comic. Just focus on what are the key things that someone's going to be able to latch onto and say that's from another era. As long as you get that right, I think you're most of the way there. Keep in mind, you don't have to work on your own. In terms of my graphic novel work, working with a publisher, you have a lot of eyes on the work itself. Both my collaborators, I mean, I was working with writers on both of those graphic novels, so the writers are looking over my work, my editors are looking over my work, art directors looking at the work, but also the publisher will often hire a historical consultant, someone who's really well versed in the period, to look it over and say, is anything jumping out to them that needs to be modified? And you can make your changes based off that. Now, for your own work, you might not necessarily be hiring a historical consultant, although, subject matter experts are out there and they do like getting paid to consult on things. So if you have the money, it's a great option. But you can even just show it to friends, show it to other people who might have some degree of familiarity with the period. Having other eyes on it is a way to get closer to being able to give a more accurate picture of the time period you're trying to present. You don't have to be an expert just all on your own. Finally, keep in mind you aren't the first person to tackle these problems of how to present these various time periods. No matter what time period you are looking at, someone else has probably tried to present it before. And don't mistake these things for firsthand resources. If it's much better to look directly to the source for any of these, but you can still look at movies, you can still look at comics, you can still look at books that have dealt with this time period, and they might give you clues for how you can develop your own shorthand, your own visual iconography of the period, and that can help make the work a little bit easier for you and hopefully make it a little bit less intimidating. Um, anyway, those are my broad tips that I wanted to share before we get into the proper work. Wait, where's the next slide? Yeah, there's the next slide. It's actually my final slide, which is let's do it together. So anyway, this is all kind of preamble. This is me rambling on, but I do want to get to taking that approach, that three-step approach, and try to put it into action. So let me stop sharing this screen briefly. Whoop. And then I'm going to share this screen as well. Yes. Oh, sorry. I'm just catching up with some of the chat. Someone had a very good piece of advice. Maybe visit an old folks home and talk to some of them. Yes, because there might be people who've actually lived through the historical moment that you're focusing on, and that can be absolutely invaluable for a time period. Some time periods won't have firsthand witnesses, but some do, and that is a resource that won't be around forever, and you should very much take advantage if you can. Okay, I'm going to do a screen share. Hopefully we can all see this. Great. Yeah, let's put it into action. So we, I've been talking about how you can create a sense of time period. Now let's actually time travel. So, if we were going to travel through time, the first thing you need in a travel through time is you need a time traveler. You need someone who's going to go there. So this is what I'm presenting to you today is a bit of a variation on a workshop that I've done with kids in the past. I'm just getting this.
Should we do this? Should we draw a time traveler?
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah. So I'm just roughing this in, but yes, please. Now this is the demo bit. Now feel free to draw along. Um, I just wanted to introduce the idea that so the time traveler that this is kind of my default time traveler that I do whenever I've done this. And I do it because it's a simple design that you can show to kids or show to someone of any drawing level. And it's composed of simple shapes, just a circle, a rectangle, but you can use it to make it into a little froggy guy like this. This is going to be our unwitting time traveler who we are going to send into some different era today. So you don't have to necessarily draw a frog, but this is my default one because it's easy to draw and it's fun. Kind of a goofy looking guy. Make sure to get the webbed hands, obviously. This guy is very excited to travel through time, does not seem to know what they have in front of them. Um, and it's nice to have a simple design for this because we want our focus to be on those incidental period appropriate details that we talked about. Oop, do a couple eyebrows, do a little froggy nose, drop that out. All right, here's our time traveler ready to go. Um, uh, Now that we have a time traveler ready, we need to send this time traveler somewhere. So I'm going to switch my screen, but I want to ask you all to give me some time periods in the chat.
Oh,
And this could be any time period. This doesn't, I just want a whole bunch of them. And then I am going to put them into a randomizer, and we're going to see which one we're going to do together today.
hurry up. Aztec, 80s, French Revolution, Cold War era.
Oh, this
A lot
is
of
awesome.
80s. Stop.
Oh, hey, 80s can be fun. I'm into that.
Aztec.
All right, so now I'm going to the wheelofnames.com. Let
Cretaceous.
me just open up the chat. So we have to deal with the technical side of things.
Okay. Do you
Let's
need
see. Let me try to get them in. Oh my God, there's so many. Okay, 1980s, Aztec, Wild West. I saw biblical times. What do we got? Uh, Ancient Crete. Oh my God. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Han
This is
period
fun.
China?
Yeah, yeah. Ancient China. Mesopotamia. Oh man. Um,
You
Mesopotamia.
a lot.
I definitely spelled that wrong. Oh my God. Yeah, some of these I do need some of these to be ones that I can get visual reference for the sake of the demo only. Okay, these are probably. Did I get Wild West? Yeah, I got Wild West. 1920s. 1920s is fun. 1920s. Okay, so I've got them all in my randomizer wheel. Let us spin and see which era we're going to land in. So we're going to go.
All right.
Oh, it
Big
makes a
money,
little
big money.
sound. Come
Does it? You don't hear
on.
the sound.
Oh, all
Wow.
right. We got Wild West. We're doing a Wild West one. Oh, this will be a fun. I like not knowing what we're going to land on here. Amazing. So. Step one is a research. I got a Google tab open up. Let's go to Google image search. Boop.
It's a tricky
Let's
one
do.
because there's so much ingrained in a lot of our brains about what we think we know, you know.
Yes, totally. Yeah, and so this is one that we might be ahead of in some ways. I was curious if we were going to get one that we knew nothing about. As part of the fun of making it random is that we don't know. And so we're going to try to keep an eye out both for the things that are going to really jump out of that we're familiar with, but also if there are any details that we notice that we would not have thought of at first. So again, I'm just doing a quick image search here. Um, we're seeing, people on horses with big hats. We're seeing Clint Eastwood. So some of these are not, actual firsthand sources. They're movie adaptations. I suspect a lot of what we're going to be seeing are different adaptations. We're seeing Native Americans. We are seeing, yeah, different portrayals from media. People on horses, sometimes people in big coats. I kind of like. I'm a fan of the films of Robert Altman, and I kind of like in his movie McCabe and Mrs. Miller that you end up seeing kind of a snowier American West than you usually see. Let's see, American West. Let's see, photography. Does that have
Also,
any?
Walter recommends putting authentic in the search term. It's not.
Yeah, let's try that. So this is going to be a thing. So for the purposes of today, we're using the internet. Internet's not always going to be the most accurate thing because sometimes you'll have an image that will claim to be one thing that if you dig a little deeper, will not be entirely accurate. Some of these, I'm hoping that they're legitimate. At the very least, they're giving us a couple of clues, right? So we're seeing, obviously guns, cowboy hats, wagons. Wagons are good. Um, and let's put yeah, as I'm gonna call out some stuff, but folks should throw this in the chat too.
Okay.
Um, oh, and yes, and someone putting a really useful thing in the chat, the idea of adding negative AI into the chat. This is a
That
sign
works.
of the times that we have to
I didn't, I never heard of that. That works.
yes, so this is one way you can do it is putting in the negative in. One my preferred way, because sometimes images won't always be listed as AI, you could put before colon and let's put 2020. You could do 2020, 2019. Uh, just images that were as soon as we start moving more into the AI age, we start having this
Oh,
risk of less accurate stuff. So by putting in this before, we're filtering out anything that we're trying to get an era before these AI machines were active. Hopefully we find a better method, but yeah, this is a nice hack you can use to try to weed out some of those AI images. And again, I guess what I was saying before is we're using Google right now. Ideally, look for books, look for actual photography if you can. These are going to give you a more accurate picture. Yeah. Automatically screens out AI. Yeah, sorry, just catching up on the check. Undeveloped land. Yeah. Anything else that's coming in? So we've got these type of buildings, right? These kind of buildings that are all lined up in front of there, made of wood, often. I mean, probably some brick in some, but predominantly wood, water towers. I kind of think about water towers sometimes, maybe because I'm seeing too many Westerns. Uh, what else are we seeing? Yeah, the sort of brick walkways you'll sometimes see. Yeah, horses. Thanks everyone for choosing something where I have to draw horses. That was very nice of you. Yeah, folks with rifles. Okay, yeah. So we're getting some good ideas on imagery, and we don't have to get too complicated. Yeah, lack of foliage or sort of a desert foliage. So I mean, it depends where we're setting it. Typically, we associate Wild West with the desert because this is one of the features of western parts of America. But then you do sometimes have stuff like again, I was excitedly talking about the movie McCabe and Mrs. Miller, where it's sort of in a northern climate that the movie takes place, despite being a western. So there was sometimes more variety in some of the climate than you might think. Yeah, fields are kind of good. God, this one looks like it's AI generated. No, it's probably not though. Um, uh, yeah, and weren't there people already there? Yes, very good point. And this is sort of some of the things that we have to keep in mind when we are tackling history is that often sort of the standard recognized iconography is going to be very much informed by a Western, sometimes colonialist perspective on all this. So we want to be conscious of that and think about what are we what do we want to show for just something that's going to be easy to recognize, and what are things that we want to keep in mind in terms of representation and things like that. These are complicated questions, but ones that we can think of as we do our work. So I'm going to stop sharing there. We've got a lot of great ideas on this, and I'm going to show my Photoshop page as well. Um, And so now that we have come up with a bunch of ideas on sort of the key iconography, then it's just a matter of bringing them in to our little man over here. So obviously, my first go-to is going to be the hats that we talked about.
Oh wait, so should we alter our time
Yes.
travel?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for pointing that out. Yes. So now this is the time when you, if you want to follow along with me, you can now alter your time traveler with some of the iconography that we're seeing. So I've got my time traveler here in a t-shirt. So I'm going to be erasing this t-shirt and we're going to see, I was noticing long sleeves with a little bit of patterns on it. We've got people who are riding horses have some of those,
Yeah.
these style of pants. I actually don't know what the name of it is, but it's kind of those leather riding pants, I guess, would probably be it. Something like this. We're seeing big belts.
I didn't catch all these things, so I may have to do a little Googling as we go.
Yeah, so that's it. I mean, I'm just sort of giving a quick example right now about things you might see, and I am pulling some of this stuff are ones that I'm able to pull on some of the iconography that I'm familiar with, like this sort of design. I don't think I necessarily was seeing that specific shirt design myself, but I've got it in my head that this is something that we see in some of the Westerns. And it's not necessarily, so you can get lost in the details with this stuff easily. I'm going to give a collar to his shirt. I was seeing everyone had collars on. Um, um, but we you can get lost in the details, but just focus on sort of the key iconography that someone could see this and instantly recognize. Okay, either if you're using more familiar iconography, this is something that you might recognize. Oh, even these buildings are not quite right.
Oh yeah. That's like a
Yeah, because I'm creating space, right? Like those buildings, we noticed when you're looking at those photos, they were right next to each other. That's how I need to do it. Like, uh, uh, this is one where I might have to study a little, but I'm thinking, okay, so we've got those like slats, those wooden slats. These buildings might be different heights, but there's no space between them. They're all right next to each other. And I'm drawing quick here, just for the sake of our example. But and these, yeah, it's fun. These little like quirks of architecture that you don't think of until you start really looking at it, right? I mean, this is what we do as artists, right? Is you need to be able to study visually. Yeah, but something like this, um, we are giving the feel of just at a glance at this image, we are seeing, yeah, let's put in some of the desert details, less foliage, but a little bit of that sort of sandy, rough road. I'd probably draw a horse or something in the background or something like that. Let's do the simplest horse in the world over here. And these are things we can do to sort of just create the sense of it's clear not only that we are in a different time period, but that for someone who knows a thing or two about the American West, they might recognize this as like, okay, I can tell that this is a Western of some kind. Anyway, that was my quick demo to show along. I do have a main activity that I'm hoping that we will have time for today because I know we could leave this just here, but I know that a lot of folks who come into these are big comic fans, they're big comic storytellers. So um, I would like to make that our main activity. So I'll make our frog disappear for a moment and ask. I know I'm moving a little bit quick, so I do have to apologize for that. But so if anyone wants to keep drawing their character, they can too. But um, for everyone who's ready to move on to our main activity, I'm going to ask you to get a new sheet of paper to draw a square in the middle. I'm drawing digitally, as obviously you can all see, so I'm cheating by using the Photoshop rulers a little bit. So I want you to make a square like this. I want you to divide it in two and divide the top again. So what I've done is I've created three comics panels. We got panel 1 over here, panel 2 over here, panel 3 over here. And our goal for today is going to be to make a time travel comic. So for these top two panels, we are going to have our time traveler appearing in the time period that we are looking at. So that time traveler could be a little cute character like I did. It could be yourself. It could be a character that you like drawing as part of it. Panels 1 and 2 will be our time traveler arriving at whatever time period you're at. And panel 3 is going to be what they will encounter in the time period. And so I've structured it this way so that you don't have to worry too much about the iconography and all those details in these top two panels. It's going to be this bottom panel over here that you're really going to get to show off. Okay, what are the features that I encounter in this period? How do I communicate the period and really get to show off some of these little things? The one challenge I have for today's activity is I'm going to ask for at no point in this comic that you actually say in words what the time period is. I want you to try to communicate as a challenge to yourself entirely through images the time period that your time traveler goes to. So pick a time period. We had a whole bunch of different ones in our list of names, and you can go through the chat if you want to see some of the previous ones. And yeah, pick one, and let's see when we get to the share if we can guess what time period you have sent your time traveler to. Does that
Okay.
make sense for everyone? Any questions before we get into it, or are folks already drawing away at this point?
Putting it into the chat. So I wrote, you can pick a different time period. Somebody just
Yep.
asked.
Yes,
Panel
yes.
1 or 2, your character, your time traveler is arriving. Panel 3, what do they encounter? That's a good panel for all the details. A little.
Yes, exactly. And I did it this way because you can easily get caught up in the details. So we still want it to be a comic, we still want to do a story, but like let's not spend the whole time on panel one. Let's panel
Okay.
three is where we're really going to show off. Um,
Oh boy.
um, yeah. Yeah, why two for arriving? Oh, so you don't necessarily, yes, this is a good question. It took me a moment to understand what the question was in chat. Yesha asking why do we need two panels for arriving? There's potential that you don't necessarily need two panels. If you can do it in one, please feel free to do it in one. Everyone's going to do it in different ways. I just wanted to make sure there was a big long panel at the bottom tier for showing off. And um, for me, I mean, you might be better at this than I am. I kind of need two panels to sort of set up my character before really diving into the setting. Um, so maybe it's just for selfish reasons that I want two panels of setup before getting to the big payoff in panel three. Or maybe I've just kind of internalized that comic strip rhythm, of like setup, payoff. Um, but that just seemed like a good way to do it for me. Um,
All right. I'm gonna put a couple in the chat also, not a couple, more like a couple dozen.
yeah,
Real.
yeah, yeah. I know
Um,
we had so many, and I didn't manage to fit everyone's suggestions in the wheel.
oh, not even close.
I know, I know. Oh God. Well, okay. So on the side, while you all are working on your individual ones, I'm removing Wild West from my wheel, and I'm gonna spin it, and we're gonna see where it lands.
I just I just put like another 10 in the chat or
Oh,
there
South of
were
Hidden Period of Iran. That's a really good one. Jurassic, pre-Columbian Manhattan. Oh wow. All right, and I just got Mesopotamia, so I'm gonna start doing some research on Mesopotamia on my screen. And I guess I'll talk through my process as everyone works so that we're not
cool.
just working in silence. So I'm looking at Mesopotamia. So we had Mesopotamia, we have it as, yeah, so we're looking like ancient Mesopotamia. We're looking at ancient world. And this is a fun one to do because this is a period that we don't have photographs from, right? So I'm going to be really relying on illustrations that other people have been doing, and on some of the, we see like engravings and statues and a lot of cultural artifacts from that period that have still survived, thankfully. And so I'm going to have to be drawing on that to sort of see what are the main traits that I'm seeing from ancient Mesopotamia. In fact, I will also just open a new one to make notes for myself. Let's do a nice 10 by 10 over here. So let me see, what am I seeing? Ancient Mesopotamia. So I'm just going to be looking at some drawings on my screen, and I'm noticing, what am I seeing? I'm seeing some really cool architecture. I'm not sure entirely how to describe it. I wish I could account for how accurate some of these images were a little bit better, but I am seeing um, architecture with a lot of, I'm seeing columns.
Can we see that screen while you're doing that?
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Why don't I stop my share and let's share my Chrome. Oop. Um, yes, so I'm seeing over here like looking at this particular image right now, I'm seeing some columns. I'm seeing sort of a like a stepped pyramid sort of shape. Um,
Is that one AI on the right?
it might be God. So it's such a risk for, again, like this is not we're doing the Google image search because it makes the most sense for this
Yeah.
Zoom workshop, but let's do another before 2020 is my favorite go-to. So let's go for that. Um, so we've got this illustration here. Yeah. So, but we do have, thankfully, the architecture from the periods survived. So or to some degree, so we do have these pictures of ziggurats, um, which are kind of these stepped buildings that kind of move up in a bit of a pyramid shape. So stepped pyramid slash ziggurat. What else are we seeing? We're seeing a lot of nice like carvings into some of the architecture. Um, Sort of seem to be depicting animals. Um, Animal carvings. What else do we got over here? All right, so in this depiction over here, we're seeing some horses. Uh, we do know that there was cattle. Um, we're seeing what are the sort of clothing? People wearing robes. I'm seeing. Um, yeah, robes. We're seeing some of the iconography like feels close to what I feel like I typically see with like Egyptian sort of look. We're seeing sandals, which makes sense. It's a desert. Um, Pretty rush, or pretty lush, I mean, which makes sense. Uh, Lush desert geography. Um, so this is, these we're transporting ourselves through time, but also through place too, which is kind of fun. Um, what
Yeah. What?
else? Mhm.
Oh, nothing. I was just like, what kind of story are you gonna set in that third panel? Like maybe they're playing.
Yeah, it's a real good question. Um, um, yeah, God, I wish I knew a little bit about this time period. So I mean, this is part of the fun about doing historical comics is the fact that you get to learn a little bit as you do it. I'm seeing people with jugs a lot. Um, Jugs. I'm seeing yeah, people carrying some of the stuff. I feel like it's showing baskets. Am I getting that right? People fighting lions. I'm seeing people with beards. Chariots.
One incredibly wild thing, and then one incredibly average thing. Like, oh, they're
Yes.
fighting lions. Oh, and they have beards.
Yeah. Totally. Well, this is, it's stream of consciousness a little bit as I'm sort of picking away at some of these details. Um, and it is fun to do one that was, really, really easy, recognizable with the American West, which we see a lot of iconography around, and this one, which we see a little bit less of with this Mesopotamia. Um, what if I do people of Mesopotamia too?
Yeah, you could also could do.
Yeah, so now this is giving us some good fashion reference.
Let's say, oh,
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of these sort of like coned hats, kind of, um, or cylindrical hats. And I think a lot of these are probably based off some of the art from the period that we're pulling from with some of that. Um, this is a kind of cool one. Yeah, we're seeing yeah, the sort of palm trees again, this giving this lush desert feel. Um, any other details that are jumping up before I kind of do my best to dive into this drawing?
An image where your cursor is, I use that one actually on the SAW website. Isn't that funny?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Oh, an
got
example of comics?
not exactly. I got it from a
Oh,
National Geographic and
mm,
I scanned it. It's so funny. I'm sure it's the
mm.
same. Anyway,
What were you using it for on the website out of curiosity?
um, I just like the drawings.
I
And
see. Cool, cool.
then it looked kind of it like mildly festive, but also mildly utilitarian. It's like things people were doing things kind of
Mhm,
out. I like that it was collective. I mean, don't have to get into it too much because
mhm. That's funny though. Yeah, I mean this is the other thing when you're using Google image search as your main source on all this stuff is that you start seeing a lot of people are shown the same images, um, and you need to make sure that that isn't um,
there
informing your own drawing too much if you can avoid it. You kind of want your images to be a little bit unique if you can. Um, Yeah, what have we landed on? What features had I have jumping out at me? I
are. You're
columns, ziggurats. Yeah, just some very quick notes. Oh yeah, I'll show them on the screen for a moment. I mean, now you're seeing my like shorthand, the messiness of my writing. Um, yeah, I'm seeing coned hats, lush desert, chariots, beards, jugs, animal carving, horses, cattle, robes, sandals, lush desert geography, step pyramid, ziggurat, columns. And again, if we love to prioritize recognizability for this activity that we're doing because we're going to have fun when we get to the sharing period, trying to guess what everyone has done. But as long as it looks like it's not something that is taking place today, then I think that you're kind of you're meeting the brief on this. You're achieving the goal, which is to sort of give a sense of this is a different time period. We're seeing something a little bit different. Um, I might even just because of timing, because I don't want to spend too long on this. Well, I guess I should start. I'm going to start with the introduction panels of we're going to have our little time machine over here. Start simple, and then we'll get to the hard stuff, which is actually the opposite of how I like to work. Usually, when I'm making a comic, I try to find the hardest thing to do, and I have to start with that. You got to eat your vegetables before you get dessert. Um, but for the purposes of just having a linear comic, let me just move this down. Um, I'm starting with the time travel panels, and then I'm going to get into some of the period specific stuff. So we've got the energy of this time machine moving around here. Do a nice bzz. Then we will have a side view over here. In fact, let's cut this out. Let's do the dialogue first. Um, our time traveler saying, "I'm here. Where am I?" This is a relatable character because they are saying what the audience might be thinking. I'm here. Where am I? Whenever I do workshops with kids, I always tell them, put in your balloons first because that's how you know how much room you have to draw. We're doing the side view.
oh yeah, that's a great idea. I'm just gonna steal your balloon. I'm here. Where am
Yeah,
I?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Feel free. We'll have our time traveler.
My Mesopotamia looks a little like a Mobius drawing.
Yeah, well, he's definitely pulling from some of that imagery with his work. That's really fun. I wouldn't have thought of that. That's great. We're all going to do Arzak comics today, actually. I lied. We're not doing time travel after all.
Everybody gets a
Uh,
conical hat.
yes, yes. Yeah, it really is. The hats are it. Yeah, we're not doing alien pterodactyls in our drawing from Mesopotamia. That would not be period accurate. We'll have our little time travelers going through real simple frog here. I'm here. Where am I? And then let me think. I actually kind of want to have just do like a little sketch thing here to say, okay, what are the imagery? So I want to have Thinking I'm going to do like some animals around here in the foreground. It's kind of fun when you're having sort of showing a setting that will have uh, put some of these interesting setting details in the foreground, and then have our character in the background kind of remarking on it in something like this. So in the background, we're going to have our time traveler with their little machine over here. Maybe we'll have them say, uh, I might have made a wrong turn.
What did Bugs Bunny always say?
Yeah, it's what is it, a wrong turn at Albuquerque or something?
I think I shouldn't have made that. Yeah, something like that. Maybe I made
Yeah,
a
the left turn or something.
definitely Albuquerque.
Yeah,
Somebody in the chat will know. Jason will probably know because Jason's writing sort of.
the resident Bug
There it
Bunny
is. Yep.
expert.
I know I should have made that left turn at Albuquerque.
There you go. Oh, I forgot. I haven't when I did the last screen share, I didn't grab the chat. There we go. Although I imagine there's a bit less chat activity as everyone seems to be pretty hard at work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, amazing. Um, yeah, classic Bugs. Might have made a wrong turn. He clearly did not want to arrive in this time period. All right, I'll keep sort of stick figure version of our little character over here. I sort of originally planned for this to be the rough and then go over, but just from a timing perspective, I might just make liberal use of the eraser tool and say that this will be our final drawing that I'm going to show for my version of this exercise. I'm really curious to see what everyone has come up with. I mean, don't tell me. We got to keep it a secret for the share at the end, but I'm very excited to see what kind of variety of time periods we end up with. Or honestly, it'll be interesting if there ends up being overlap. If there's several people who go for the same time period, could be pretty cool. Um, yeah, what else I want to have? So let me do in the background, I'll have that ziggurat. Let me see. Mesopotamian ziggurat. Yeah, it is one of the things that I have been pleasantly surprised myself is learning that I actually love doing research for comics like this. It can be a real joy to just learn new stuff, you know? And when you get to learn new things as part of your job, it can be pretty cool. One of the advantages of being a cartoonist, I think.
Yeah, it's really fun to do that, to take yourself out of your own story a little bit or your own details anyway, and look
Yeah,
at other details. That can be really pleasurable. I'm looking at that same image you showed of ancient Mesopotamia. Did they have horses then?
I don't know. I know they definitely had cows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was second guessing the horses too, to be honest.
That same image, I think it's one of the same ones you showed, also has some like clothes, like draped over a branch as if one or two people took them off and and hid
Oh,
away.
sorry.
Yeah, I'm looking at the same image, but I'm not. Anyway, that's pretty.
Yeah, well, so this is, I mean, this is one of our big lessons here is about, always double check your sources when possible. Uh, Horses were introduced to Mesopotamia around 2000 BC, replacing the kunga as the primary equid used in warfare. Wow, what's the kunga?
Wait, I missed that.
Well, this is what AI is saying. I don't, again, AI is messing with the attempt to use the internet as a resource. This is why we can't use the internet as our main resource. We can't trust it, especially now. Um, but according to Wikipedia, horses were imported to Mesopotamia around 2000 BC. Um, yeah, the kunga was used to be the main. It seems like labor animal, which is a hybrid between Syrian wild ass and domestic donkey. Yeah, what else can we use but the internet? Libraries are censored. Oh yeah. I mean there is, you have to be aware of that. Thankfully there are some really good libraries out there um, that we can take advantage of. There are also archives. There are a lot of historians out there who work very hard to keep accurate histories available to us, and they are always happy to share. Um, yeah, we're seeing some people calling out different libraries that they know that they like, which is great. Yeah, I think there are some really good libraries out there. Um, um, and I think that most people with a real passion for history are very, very willing to share when they can. I got caught up in a rabbit hole just there of trying to figure out whether horses should be included in this drawing or not. I'm just going to do cows instead, um, just to keep it simple. Again, if I had more time, I probably would follow that lead a little bit more. But I
For
know
sure.
that, oxen were definitely a thing during this time period. And I am thinking just for time's sake, go on for another maybe like 5, 10 minutes. Then we'll possibly stop sharing. So my drawing might not end up being the most finished one, but everyone else, as we start for the sharing, the real speedsters are going to be able to share first, and the people who are a little slower drawing will get a chance to finish up their drawings while the quicker artists among us get to share.
Yeah, we should probably do that in something like 4 or 5 minutes to get
Yeah.
started.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a wise idea.
Oh, Jason says he's ready. So when you finish up,
Oh, amazing. I just want to finish doing this frog person
oh,
with a
nice.
jug on their head because I was seeing some cool stuff with people carrying jugs on heads in some of the research we were doing. Boop, boop. A little cow over here. We had some roads of different kinds. We want to have a frog with a beard, like some of the beards we were seeing. One of those sort of conical hats we were seeing
Yeah.
over here. It's the advantage to again, we're seeing the advantage to doing the frog designs is it makes it a lot quicker to draw some of these characters when you just have to draw a little frog person in period appropriate clothing.
The drawing I'm looking at, or old illustration, it seems like the conical things are the helmets, not merely casual hats. But I'm only looking at one picture.
Yeah, I felt like I was seeing both,
Oh,
some helmets and some hats, but again, this is because of the time constraints. You're seeing kind of like my first blush approach to some of this stuff. I think I would go a little bit deeper. Again, these are sort of the fun challenge that come with historical work. At least when you're going for a time period that you don't have familiarity with it. I mean, you saw how quick I was with that Wild West one because I have a lot of imagery ready to go.
couple
Um,
really interesting looking musical instruments in some of these
oh,
Mesopotamian.
that's really cool. Well, I'm excited to see yours, Tom.
Oh no,
You,
I'm
if you're willing to share, you're not obligated.
well, it's not it's very distracted this evening.
Yeah, this is it. The research is taking up. Oh God, now I am seeing some of the Mesopotamian instruments. These are really cool. I'm seeing sort of like a harp kind of with a
Yeah.
bit of an oxen design to it. This is neat. Yeah. Lots of robes and beards in terms of some of the things that I'm seeing.
And the beards are
Okay.
very trimmed in a certain way, which I suppose they're getting off of the pottery and
Yeah, that's what I think too. I wonder if that was 100% accurate or not. This is an example of one where you actually probably would want to call in someone
Mm.
who's a little more well versed with this stuff to check your work and maybe even give you some hints as to what they can tell you about the period. All right, I'm going to throw in some palm trees and then I'm going to say that's that.
hopefully you'd hear about some like historian infighting where you're like, oh, don't talk to that historian.
Yeah, oh, you definitely would.
Their theory.
I have no doubt about it. I mean, there's a lot of honestly worthy debates about how we frame our history. Anyone who goes down that rabbit hole, there's a lot there waiting for you for the history buffs who know about it. Um, Great. Well, this is my very quick. I'm actually fairly pleased with how much I managed to get done in this, considering.
The little trees.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, should we take a look at some of the other people? We have
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what everyone else has done.
okay. So if anyone wants to share, we definitely have Lauren it is ready, Eli, and I know Jason said so. Good, we'll get a few in. It's a little later than usual, y'all. So I'm going to post in the chat sharing options, and we'll get to as many as we can by the bottom of the hour. So we'll go to Lauren really fast, then Eli, then Kate, then Jackie. Here we go.
Hi.
Lauren.
Okay, so I did a wordless comic, which is a little more difficult, but that's what I did. I think you'll be able to figure it out. So let's see. Here's what I did. That's the first guy, and then
Oh,
we
awesome.
went right there.
I love seeing our time traveler shaking in fear at seeing these outlaws in that bottom
Yeah,
panel.
yeah, he kind of got in the middle of something there,
Yeah, yeah,
and which he wasn't expecting.
yes.
But
Oh,
anyway, that's when I heard the Western, that kind of hit me right away. So I figured I'd do a Western.
yeah.
Look at
Yeah,
that.
sorry, I kind of preempted any guessing that we could have done in the chat in this one, but it felt quite clear to me what your time period was on this.
Awesome, Lauren. Thanks. And we got
Okay. Mhm.
clouds. Okay, we'll go to Eli.
Hi. So this will be like the story of my life as a time traveler. I got my fancy outfit. I'm gonna shoot through this portal and to the distant past, and I will end in a snowdrift, a very cold environment.
Amazing.
Thanks. This is fun.
Amazing. They I'll tell you about it later. All right, we'll go to Kate now.
Hi. This is really a lot of fun.
Oh, yay.
But I didn't do the assignment, but I just sort of want to show like a few things. First of all, before I could really use her, I like in my Mesopotamia search, we get her.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Holy heaven. That's Lilith.
Mm.
And she came up under, anyway, this is a super famous image. You see her owl claws and everything. I didn't get to include her, but like, yeah, the one so starting the time traveler, I thought we had to do cowboy hats. And
Oh, nice.
to show you that because it's funny.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then when we didn't have to, anyway, I didn't get into the first two panels, but I got this really strange version of this lion-headed.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it'll look better with a little ink wash, but he's so, all the lion muscles, just, it's diving in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, looking at all that Mesopotamian reference, I fully get just wanting to copy some of that stuff at a certain point.
Well, yeah, I was going to have the person decide that they were going to go back to their past, and then just like it's a lot more than they thought.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool, Kate. Thanks so much. We'll go to Jackie now and then Alun.
So yeah, this was my little wild west person. So here is
Oh, nice.
oh, I haven't seen one of these in a while. Remember those?
You're doing it's like the Bill and Ted method of time travel there. The old phone booth.
Yeah. I didn't mean to be all like Doctor Who about it, but that was the easiest, those metal phone booths we had. So I brought myself back to late 1970s.
Yeah, yeah.
New York.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it looks awesome. Yeah, CBGB. It's perfect.
Thanks.
Awesome, Jackie. Thank you.
And talk about iconic too.
So, I'm sorry.
There
So
we
you
go.
can, do mine on the computer. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, there you go, Lynn.
Okay, let's see. Ah, there we go. So here's here's my time traveler. First of all, before he said, "Oops, I accidentally stopped the share." And just close. Hold on, let me do the. There we go. Hit the wrong button. There's my time. Whoops. Yeah, there's my time traveler before he set off. There's my time traveler in the local period costume. Am I still sharing?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So there's their time traveler in his period costume. Excuse me. And here he is arriving. I wanted to figure out what kind of weird time travel machine he could have, and I decided on a time travel machine that was shaped like an old-fashioned circular shower, just for no particular reason. So he time travels in a shower, apparently. So he arrives and says hello to the locals. And I had actually already started drawing this time period before you decided on yours, for what it's worth. But
fun.
yeah. But I went with because it's one I already had projects for, so I kind of already done some research, which was ancient Sumer. I don't know if you saw in the chat, Mesopotamia, there are actually several different civilizations at different times in Mesopotamia. So I was a little more specific and went with Sumer, which was the kind of the old civilization in Mesopotamia. So yeah, I did ancient Sumer, but I'd already decided that and already drawn like this drawing even before you decided on it. So I was not didn't do Sumer because you did Mesopotamia, but
Yeah.
the same location. Anyway, so there's mine. Anyway, so
I could have used you during during my drawing. This is great though. I love the being able to show that transition because of working digitally, being able to sort of transform into the time travel itself. Oh, and now I'm seeing, yes, I didn't see this other page before of that bath or that shower stall.
Am I not sharing that? I'm
You
sorry.
shared the first image, but not the next one. But the next one came up. It was really great with the
I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing the last image. Let me try one more.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had it in presentation mode, so I don't
Oh,
usually
there we go. Yes.
realize you can see.
Oh,
Right.
fantastic. Yes, and you've got the ziggurat in the background. We're getting the livestock.
Yeah, the goats. Goats were actually common in Sumer. They were one of the most famous. And yeah, people usually wore men usually went shirtless, but had these robes from their waist to their ankles. So yeah. But, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I wasn't sharing the last photo. Yeah, there he is.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, so can you answer our question? Were there horses in Sumer or were there not?
No, this was before 2000 BC. There would not have been
Got it.
horses in Sumer. That was before there were horses in Mesopotamia. Now I can't stop sharing. There we go. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen. We'll go to Jason now. Okay, he nailed those square beards. Huh?
Mhm.
All right, so here's my time traveler.
Nice.
He has boots and everything, just to protect him from whatever might be out there in the future or the past. Set his time machine for, and took a couple people with him for anywhere pre-cancer. And ended up, let's see. Oh, wait a minute, there's a way. They're arriving. They're arriving. Sorry, it's backwards to me. There's a couple people in there. They're arriving, and then they get here, and they're saying, "What? Where am I? Or where are we?" I don't know, but you can't read it because they have some super futuristic language. And then next scene is
Oz the dinosaur.
yeah, it's pretty. I don't know if you see the snake over here, but
yes. Yeah, I love that you have the snake in there as sort of a preview of what's going to be coming in that third panel.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Awesome.
Super simple.
I love that dinosaur. All right, we'll go to Emma next if Emma's ready. There we go.
All right, so okay, let's see. Oh, my lighting actually is on. So I got just a fun portal, and here we go. I did some quick coloring and
And is this Egypt based off the pyramids? Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the headdress on that woman. That's so great. Oh, that's terrific, Emma. Thank you.
Yeah. You captured the iconography really well.
Yeah. All right, we'll go to Bob now.
Oh, you might be muted, Bob.
I might be muted.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know. I didn't know what to do, so I saw a Braveheart. So I based it on Braveheart. So I had like the guy with the kilt. He's running through battle. I have this like vortex engulfing him. He comes through, jumps through, and he's at a kid's birthday party. And the mother's upset that she dropped the cake, but the kid thinks it's the best birthday ever. But he's still holding a severed head.
That's
But
awesome.
that's anyway.
We've done so many ones that are someone from the present or the future going to the past. I love this William Wallace type going to the present.
Yeah.
Kevin's birthday.
Yeah.
I love that you show up at your own birthday party with a severed head. That's really
We've
And
got
the
a
mother's
present.
upset that the cake is, she dropped the cake, that she doesn't care about anything else. The dripping sword or the head.
thanks, Bob. Okay, we'll go to Nazanin. If actually we need Nazanin to take a moment and unmute. There.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes. Are you able to?
Okay.
Oh,
I'm going to share my screen now. I was just, oh, it's, you have to,
no, try again. It should be okay.
yes. So I did the Qajar in Iran history.
Mhm.
So it's just,
Oh,
I fell out of somewhere and the kid goes to me like, the king has brought a new machine, the first camera ever entered Iran history. And so the king is in front of me, walking towards me.
Mm.
That's it.
Oh my!
I love that.
Or so go ahead, Tom.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I just want to point out the architecture, the detail you have. I know
Yeah.
we had limited time, so you were only able to sort of sketch out some of the people in that bottom panel, but the details you got in the clothing and the architecture are so good and
Thank
just
you.
immediately evocative.
Thanks, Nazanin.
This was great. Thanks.
Okay, we'll go to Gail next. He'll take me. There we go. Hang on. There we go.
This was fun. Okay, so let's see. How am I gonna do this? I don't want to show the bottom.
Mm.
Okay, so I sort of ignored aspects of the assignment and I did include in my first panel where it was located.
That's fine.
Okay, so a 17th century English village seems so tranquil. So tranquil at first. Oh, and I have my traveling my traveler is a spider and he travels by spinning his web. I don't know, it's a magical web.
Mhm.
Okay.
Makes
Uh
sense to me.
greetings, good woman. I'm a traveler from the future. How are you on this fine morning? And this woman says, not great. I wouldn't go in there if I were you.
Well, I got to know what's in there now.
Oh,
Oh,
Yikes. Can a spider catch bubonic plague? Not sticking around to find out.
Amazing. Oh my God, that plague doctor. It's right away it jumps out at you. You know exactly what's going on.
Thank you. This was fun. I just happen to be reading a historical fiction novel right now that takes place during the 1600s and the plague is rampant. So it was on my mind.
And
Thanks.
are those boils? Are they putting leeches on the victim?
No, he has the plague. One of
Oh, I
the
see.
symptoms is like these giant bulbous things
Ooh.
that eventually explode. So
Yes.
that's that. And then you also get these rosy rings, like blood under your skin. So that's what that is.
Someone in the chat wants to know which novel you've been reading.
Oh, it's called A Year of Wonders by
Mhm.
Geraldine Brooks.
Oh, yes.
thanks, Gail. Okay, we'll go to Gabriel. I think here he is. I think I want to read a children's book called The Spider and the Plague.
That's an interesting one. I hope mine isn't too esoteric, but here we go. So we got our little time traveler guy kind of zapping into wherever he was going. And suddenly he finds himself in front of the White House. And he's dressed in like a denim jacket and sort of a brightly colored, solid colored shirt and corduroy pants. And he looks, and he finds out that he sees that he's suddenly in front of a hotel, and out comes Ronald Reagan waving to everybody. He goes, hey, Ronnie, Mr. President, over here. And if you know specifically what event this is supposed to be, he's about to be very shocked.
Okay, Bill.
I'm sorry, I don't know if it's very evocative, but I guess I just kind of went for shocking.
Yeah. Yeah.
The likeness of Reagan is really good.
Thank you.
I also like the background characters and how like medieval and they look. They look like they're these hooded characters in the background. Archway or something. But wow, that's great. Yeah, that moment. That is shocking, actually.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gabriel. All right, we'll go to Christian next, and I guess that'll be last. And Christian.
I don't have anything like particular, so you can skip me. I don't have anything.
All right. All right. Well, we'll spotlight Josh again. They're still chatting in the chat. Josh, thank you. Yeah, I wanted to ask you one question that didn't exactly come up, which is like how being a comics historian, how does your sense of empathy, how has it grown? You know what I mean? Like do you have a new understanding of how people lived at a certain time, and does it inform? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, it just broadens your context, I think, when you learn about history, as you learn about different time periods. You know, the when doing the World War II book, I was thinking a lot about some of the ways that people come together in times of crisis, which we really saw during the Second World War, as people tried to find ways to support, you know, the war effort at that time. And it just, you know, like I guess, like I said at the start, it kind of gives you context for some of the things that we, you know, occasionally struggle with today, or the things that we think about when we think about our future and where things could go, you know, how we've tackled various problems before, and other things to learn from it. I think having that context can really, you know, be it's a pretty big revelation when you realize, you know, both how much things have changed over time and also how much things stay the same, you know. I find it all super fascinating, and I'm very happy for any opportunity I can have to learn a little bit through this work.
Cool. Oh, Rebecca wants to know if you were a historian before you started making these books.
No, I mean, interestingly enough, I feel like when I was a kid, I was not super into history when I was in school and stuff, and it was kind of only later as an adult, and I started just learning for fun, that I started getting super into history. And now I don't know, now I've become a real history buff. I think I didn't like the way that it was being taught to me in school, and then when I started, I don't know, becoming a illustrator and getting addicted to history podcasts, suddenly I started to get really engaged in that sort of thing.
Interesting. We have one last person wants to share. We'll see if Allison, are you ready to come on?
I think I'm ready. Sorry, I've never been on Zoom before.
Oh, there we go. It looks like it's working. Hang on.
Oh, sorry. Can you see me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm like 80 years old. I don't know how to flip the camera, I guess.
Oh, you went off. You were there for a second.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think, you know what? I'll put in the chat one last time how everybody can share. Oh, Allison's there. Let's see if we can try this one more time. Got it. Hang on a second. I got to see if we can get them to unmute. We'll give them 5 more seconds. All right.
Forget it.
All right. Again, I'm going to put in the chat where people can share. I'm going to make Jason or Josh the spotlight again. I'm going to ask everybody to share. Josh, thanks. This was really, really fabulous, and it was great.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'll try to send a comment to you if
Do
I
it.
can.
All right, everybody. Let's give Josh a round of
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thanks,
Thank
Josh.
you.
Comments.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Fun,
Thank you,
Josh.
Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
so much.
You're awesome.
This was really
Wow.
great.
Thanks,
Loved
all.
it, loved it.
Following you on the IG now.
Great.
You're from Toronto or nearby. You're a
Yes, I
Canadian.
am from
Montreal.
Toronto. Yeah.
Yay!
All right, bye.